Incredible! This is
The Grove Podcast.
Hello, my name is Tabs and welcome to episode 147 of The Grove Podcast. Now, thank you for listening. I hope you're all doing well, enjoying the festive season, the holidays. We are now in that period where nobody really knows what day or date it is. Well, I can tell you we are recording at 8 o'clock in the morning, which is why I'm wearing my new Arsenal snuddy and haven't quite got into civvy clothes yet and haven't quite probably got up. It's Sunday the 28th. It may not be that time or date whenever you're listening to. But anyway, it's the morning after another very Arsenal game involving defenders getting injured, an under XG performance and an unnecessarily nervy win. And joining me today to look back at that victory, making a very special Christmas guest appearance, is Steff from the North Bank Pod. Steff, how are you? How's your Xmas been? And did you manage to outperform your XT, T being turkey?
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me on. As an English teacher by trade, I'd just like to talk about, there's a word, this awkward period between Christmas and New Year, I once heard was called the Merineum. So I'd just like to drop that in there. In terms of outperforming my XT, yes, very much. Lots of food has been eaten. Being a diabetic as well, my blood sugars are all over the shop. But that's Christmas.
Okay, great. Where are the sweets? Cool. And look, before we get onto sort of the show and all the rest of it, where can people find you, listen to yourself, Holly, and Chris?
So we do audio and video, and we'd love everyone to sort of head over to our YouTube page and check us out. It's at North Bank Pod, where they can see our main pod videos. We sometimes do instant reactions, if possible, but we are on all the other social medias at North Bank Pod. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, go and find those guys. Obviously, once you listen to us, go and find them. Have a listen. They're a good bunch. It's good fun, and I'm surely enjoy it. And likewise, look, if you can find us at the Grove AFC. Well, obviously, if you're here, you know where we are. But if you can spread the word, subscribe, like, do all that stuff on the YouTube channel, on the podcast apps, greatly appreciate it for both of us. Anyway, a little Christmas gift from you to us as we gift you our podcasts. So there we go. Anyway, enough of that. Brighton review, kick off with. We'll also do a bit of a Villa preview at the end, but let's kick off with Brighton 2-1, as we always do. Let's start with our highlights and lowlights. So, Steff, what was your highlight and lowlight from yesterday's game?
Oh, the highlight is definitely Odegaard's goal. I thought he had an excellent game, and a few games ago against Villa, I think it was, where he was pulling the trigger and having those shots, but those shots had no real conviction about them. And then yesterday to strike the ball home as well as he did, I thought was absolutely excellent. And he kind of ran the game a little bit from then on. There were some lovely moves and touches, particularly in the second half, which during a quite uncomfortable period was able to relieve a little bit of pressure. But yeah, that goal was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it was. I was in a different seat yesterday, and it was sort of right in front of me. And it was a very, very Odegaard goal, sort of stepping back onto the edge of the box and drilling in the shot. And you know, as I said, we haven't seen enough of that. Unfortunately, he's been trying. He's been getting better and better since he's come back into the team, and it was good to see that he actually took the shot. And it was very obvious that, I don't know, maybe the way Saka was playing already, that the actual Brighton team dropped quite deep, so they left him quite a lot of space to shoot. And if he wasn't going to shoot, then he's never going to shoot. So I'm pleased. I'm pleased he did. Whether it went in or not, I'm just glad that he took that shot. And we need to see more of that. But yeah, very very Odegaard goal. And your low light.
Well, I think if you'd asked me last night when I got home from the game, the lowlights, I would have just talked to you about the injuries, I think, because it's just getting absolutely ridiculous. But this morning, I'm waking up and I'm seeing lots of clips of Gyökeres' first chance that he had, which was a ball over the top. It drops over his shoulder. He controls it pretty well while sort of holding off the defender, and then hits the limpest shot I think I've ever seen from a forward that's built, whose game is built on power. It was slightly pathetic, and I just can't help but look at it and just kind of worry about what that might imply about where I'm at with my thinking with Gyökeres. Lad who sits next to me, Lewis. There was a moment in the game, I can't remember exactly what it was. He sort of just looked at me sort of out the side of his eye and just said, I'm not sure he's the one, is he? And it's starting to build. We so want him to do well. And I do think there are some things that are so positive about his game in terms of just the role he plays as a number 9, occupying centre-backs, stretching out the play. But ultimately, it's goals, and it's goals that are a problem for this team at the minute because the chances are there, but we're not taking them. And it's not just him. Saka yesterday had a couple of moments that he easily could have done better on, but oh God, I saw that clip this morning and I was like, yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I just had a quick rewatch of the highlights this morning. I didn't realize how soft it was. Like again, it was right in front of me, and yeah, I said to my son, Jenny, just put your foot through it, for crying out loud. Even if it goes wide or it's intent, and it was timid. But the thing is, he did it in the second half. And we've seen it before. I think it was against Leeds or Forest or West Ham. One of them when he twatted the post so hard, it's still shaking.
Yeah.
And he had a shot from a similar angle, to the previous games, and again in the second half where he really, really belted it. So it was there to be hit really hard. I think if he gets a decent strike in it, it's in, and it's a confidence thing. I think that seems to be a confidence thing.
Do you think as well? I wonder if some things. I mean, it might be unconscious. Obviously, they won't necessarily be aware of it. But obviously, there's a lot of debate about the variety we have in the front line, and he's the more sort of orthodox battering ram type number 9. But then there's Gabriel Jesus who comes in, is a little bit more tricky. Do you think he overthought it, thinking he's got to be a trickier kind of player, and that it's just.
No. I think he is what he is, and I think he knows that. I think it's just a confidence thing. He's so when you're lacking confidence, your main intention, get it on target, and that's it. And it feels like the fear of slicing it wide with intent is worse than getting it on target. But this was because this was absolutely nothing. So it's not like he tried to place it on target and the keeper's having to make a nice save. It was just it was too easy. But I could see that I think that sort of sums, because also you saw how hard he hit the penalty last week. My highlight was the fact that how far the netting bar at the back of the goal lifted up. The aesthetics of that. So we know it's there. So it was early in the game, but that's no excuse. And so it would be interesting to get into his mindset. So why didn't you just hit it so hard? So I don't know. Maybe he just wants to so badly get it on target that he doesn't take the risk. So and that's what happens with confidence. You don't take risks when you're lacking in confidence. And I'm trying to. I've kept him in my FPL team, so I'm trying to keep confident with him and trying to have patience. But is your patience wearing thin? Is he offering enough outside of this, or are we just searching for things to try and fit him into the team?
I don't know, and again, I'm really trying to be positive, but with Gabriel Jesus coming back and looking okay, with Havertz knocking on the door of a return to the squad, it could be one of those things where actually it might be good just to take him out the firing line for a couple of games. I've talked about the earlier part of the season where, because Havertz was out, we were flogging him, and it resulted him in his injury, and it was such bad timing because that first half against Burnley, it was like, okay, this is what he's about. There was power, there was running, there was the goal to top it off, and it looked like we were building something, and then bang, he goes and gets a muscle injury for the first time in his career. Welcome to Arsenal. And so, but at the moment, is there enough being done? Because ultimately, the chances are there. Are they specifically to him? Maybe not, but it's hard not to. I think for everyone's sake, you now have to take him out of your fantasy football team. I think that's the thing. I think keeping him in there, you're obviously jinxing him, so it's time for him to go.
Well, to counter that, I took Odegaard out. So there you go. I took Odegaard yesterday.
Villa game, he's gone. He's gone.
He's gone, definitely. Okay. On to my highlight and low light. And actually, one of my low lights touches on what you were talking about, injuries, but we'll get to that in a minute. My highlight was the Raya save, which... and again, as I said, I was sitting with my son yesterday. Thanks to Alan for letting me have his season tickets yesterday. I changed position, and I was right behind that, and it was just like I thought it was in from the moment he hit it. I thought it was in even when Raya got a fingertip to it, or palm, or whatever, and then obviously it went over. And the more I watch it, I've watched it so many times. The more that's going in. It's like every time I still think it's going in. And look, it's his job, but still, it's like when someone scores a brilliant goal, we eulogise over the fact that they scored a brilliant goal. This was, I don't know, up there with one of his best ever saves. And it was critical because, it was 2-1 at the time, get to 2-2. Did we have the energy, the mental capacity to come back? It would have been difficult, but that was just... some save. Yeah. It is. It's very hard to sort of, other than say, wow, worst save. It's very, very difficult to suggest anything more. You might have been not seen. I don't know what your angle would have been like to see it because you're obviously at the North Bank. But did you manage to appreciate it like everyone else? Or
100%. Even with our perspective from the other end of the pitch, it looked, for all intents and purposes, an absolute goal. And again, seeing the highlights again this morning, the Brighton player thinks it's a goal because he's essentially wheeling away and starting to celebrate. It's a world-class save, and it's that thing of he hadn't had a lot to do, so all the cliches come out. The best keepers are able to be there when you sort of need them. I think in the heat of the moment, I was of a mindset where I was thinking, God, I shouldn't need to be making that kind of save because we've lost control of the game and Brighton have grown into it, and I was really sort of annoyed. But actually, what's the point in having a top keeper like that if he can't do that? So it is one of those where I just have to appreciate the aesthetics of it. It is an unbelievable save, and it's the difference at the end of the day. Because I, like you, I'm on the side of, if they'd equalised, I'm not sure there was enough in the tank. And I feel like our mindset had slightly shifted at that period in the game, where to then try and wrestle back control, albeit maybe we did that a little bit with some of the substitutions. Whether we were able to rally again, I don't know. Because 3 points, given the other results yesterday, was vital.
No, absolutely. Well, actually... you're right. It actually finished off a period, I think 10-15 minutes where we were on the back foot. Brighton got into it, and I think mainly down to Minter. He was a real threat down the right hand side. But actually, after that point, they didn't have another shot. So actually, we did wrestle back control. Whether that's better at 2-1 than 2-2, whether that would have happened, and it would have been such a Arsenal versus Brighton thing to go to 2-2 and ending up 2-2. It just like we've been. Yeah, they've done us before, but yeah, like you said, look, that's Raya's job, irrespective of how good it is, and that's why you have him there. And in terms of low light, so there's a couple of things. One is this continuous underperforming of our XG. It's I don't know. It's sort of it's frustrating. I mean, on the one side, it's sort of a highlight. We are creating chances. We are being very dominant, but just not putting them away. And you mentioned Saka earlier. He was again frustrating. It feels like we're not putting our foot through the ball. The amount of times it's always a bit too delicate, trying to place it, trying to put it in instead of just twat it and see what happens. There's a ricochet here. It could go off somewhere there. It seems all very, very deliberate and stuff like that. So even though they look like good chances, I don't think we're definitely not making the most of them. And look, there's a load of stats going around, like, I'll call out a couple from Albinho with, like you said, in Arsenal's last 4 games, we've scored 2 non-penalty goals off an XG of 7.05 plus 3 own goals and a penalty. And we've conceded 4 goals off a 3.64 XG against. Yesterday, we had 2.8 XG and 24 shots, and we scored 2 goals. When we played Leeds, we had something very similar and scored 5. So I'd be more worried if we weren't creating the chances. yeah, because something's got to give, you know. So I'm not massively concerned as such, but it is a bit it's frustrating that it just makes games more nervy than they have to be. And we'll talk about Villa later, who are doing the complete opposite of what we're doing. Yeah, I don't know how yeah, is this a concern for you, or do you think that's it? The regression to the norm and the dam's going to break and someone's going to get one hell of a beating soon.
Well, I bloody hope so. Whether I feel that, I don't know, because I know I was at Everton a couple of weeks ago, and inside the stadium, that felt incredibly nervy. And it was only in the cold light of day, watching it back, it wasn't nervy at all, really.
Yeah.
Everton barely laid a glove on us, but it doesn't feel like that. And if it doesn't feel like that in the stadium, it makes me wonder how the players feel like on the pitch, because there are moments in those games, and you could say the same about Wolves, same about Sunderland, where there are periods, a bit like that 15-minute spell in the Brighton game yesterday, where we don't feel like we're in control. You can dominate the game as much as you like around that, and the first half yesterday was very, very dominant. What was it, 15 shots in the first half, 5 on target. They had no shots at all. It was incredibly dominant. But while it's 1-0, it's just not enough. It's just not enough to feel comfortable. So, yeah, we've got to start being more ruthless, because ultimately, you know, we've got a defence that we know could win as a league, but if we're not putting the ball in the net, you know, City have got a better goal difference at the moment, and we at some point we need to make this count. But like you say, if we weren't creating the chances, then it would be even more of a concern, because it's another layer of pressure that's coming with that. So, God, I hope it's Villa on Tuesday.
Well, yeah, I think
I don't care.
we're hoping both regressions are happening at the same time against Villa. Yes, we will get to that. And look, and my second low light, and this sort of leads into the lineup discussion as well, was, and as you pointed, it was centre back injuries, defensive injuries. It's just so frustrating. And it feels a bit last season all over again. Is our season going to be derailed due to? No one knows why these are happening. Okay, we can look to particular someone like Timber. Again, is it overplaying, overuse? You know, did he have to play against Palace? Really? You know, and look, we got away with it. No, I'm not saying we got away with it, because I don't want. Well, come to that point. We won in spite of him not playing yesterday. We got through to the semi-finals with him playing, so that maybe that is the right result, depending on your viewpoint. But there's 2 points in, and then also Calafiori going off in the warm up. Then again, is he? Because it feels like we're not risking players anymore, but it feels like we're just on that edge. We seem to be making some good decisions around, okay, if there's any issue, we pull them out. But we're now getting to that point where we're not really have that much choice. So look, when we saw the lineup and there was no Timber, okay, and I'll get your view on, well, who's playing right back or who's playing left back. And then when I got into the stadium, I didn't realise, okay, I got into the same 10 minutes to go, 5 minutes to go, and MLS is starting. Was there a print? Was there a print? Was there a printing error in the team sheet? And with Calafiori going out in Capi, I think that's now 8 different back four lineups in our last 8 Premier League games. And what else in there? And on to your point about our defence, there was that point where we would be worried about whether Nketiah's skimmed head counted as a shot on target, and we're all getting pissed off that as a shot on target against us. I think it was October, November, we had a run of clean sheets, but since then, since Sunderland, I think it's like we've had 6 different back fours in 6 matches, and we've only kept 1 clean sheet and conceded 7 times. So it is a bit concerning. It looks like players are coming back. Big G came back yesterday, which was great to see. And the one thing I said to Gianluca, I said, imagine if we hadn't have signed Nketiah. Everyone thought that was a superfluous signing. What is the point? Why are we signing him? Thank my God, Berta's got some foresight there, because that's great. But so when we saw the lineup, no Timber, then obviously Calafiori gets injured. What were you thinking about right back, left back? Yeah, what were your thoughts on that lineup? Who was playing where, and what did you want to see?
Well, we had a long discussion, me and the people I was with in the concourse before the game, about how on earth this lineup was going to work. we all kind of knew that it was probably Rice that was going to drop into the defence because that was the, most obvious ploy, I
Well,
think.
there was talk of Zubimendi maybe going right back.
Yeah,
Don't know.
I don't know. Me and my friend Peter, who I was with, were talking about what we'd maybe like to see is just because Rice is so useful in midfield that maybe we could play a back three. Lewis Skelly, Hincapié, Saliba, who would be your wing backs, not 100% sure, but were Brighton going to offer so much of a threat that we would have to ensure we had a full.
Well, it would have matched up Brighton because they were playing three at the back. So, well, before the Calafiori thing, I was thinking, maybe it'll be interesting. Let's try back three. Calafiori, Hincapié, Saliba.
But no, and then I, like you, completely missed the fact that Calafiori's there until Lewis Skelly went to take a throw-in the first minute. I hadn't even watched him the teams coming out. I was there with my nephew and it was Christmas and he was taking it all in and just sort of like doing whatever. I didn't even sort of notice and I was like, hang on, Lewis Skelly's on the pitch. What's going on? I don't know if you've read any more and you might be able to shine a light on this. All I've seen from Arteta is that it said something very strange with Ricky.
Oh, I hate the Arsenal strange injuries. No, I've not had a chance.
To me, he says, "Well, that's him for the season." Like in my head, I'm catastrophizing. But that is that just Arteta like just batting it off, or I don't know? It's weird. I haven't read anything more.
No, I haven't had a chance. The only one I know is Timber. Apparently, he's just been carrying a little something. Like most players are carrying something at this point of the season, and. That's why. Well, if he's carrying something, why risk him against Palace for crying out loud? And I'm not even thinking of this game. I'm thinking of Villa, and Ricky's something strange. It could be, well, that's a bit weird, but he'll be fine. Versus, oh, that's a bit weird. A bit like the Saliba injury. He'll be out for a few days, which turns out to be a few weeks, sort of thing. So, and he's the one I'm least worried about because we have Hincapié playing there, and he can play well at left back. We have MLS, even though. I know his age. I know it's not his position, but he's giving me the heebie-jeebies at the moment, and stuff. So, trying to contextualize his performance versus, but we need him to be last year's MLS, not this year's MLS. But yeah, it's the Timber one that's more my concern because that's where we haven't got any Mascara can fill in there. Yeah, we don't have anyone. You're not going to put Saliba out there. Yeah, and no Ben White, of course, for another couple of weeks. It's a bit nuts. I mean, everyone else was as expected. Would you have started Jesus, or were you expecting Gyökeres? Right, give him one more. He scored the penalty last week. One more game, two starts for Jesus would have been too much. Were you fine with seeing Gyökeres start?
Yeah, I was, especially, at home to Brighton. I fully expected Arteta to pick him. There's a sense of, trying to play him into form, give him as much opportunity to get those goals that he needs, build those relationships, particularly with Saka and Trossard, who, I mean, Trossard's been one of our best players this season, and Saka is Saka. So that was always to go for. So it's a midfield and an attacking lineup that's more than capable of doing the business. They created chances, but we just didn't finish them. I mean, Rice at fullback. I mean,
it's just brilliant everywhere. You just put him in. I'm sure he would have made that save. He would have caught that ball. Rare saved it. He would have caught it. What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean that's it. That's all he's got left to tick off is just a spelling goal. I think. So if Kepa and Raya somehow get suspended or injured, we know
give him the gloves.
Call him Rice. And a bit like when he goes in for a tackle, I'm sure his arms will extend by like a metre in order to save them. And he's all things to all men, isn't he? I mean, is there I can't think of a more complete footballer.
No, he's. I hate to make the comparison because I don't like, but he's like very Steven Gerrard-esque, isn't he? He's just brilliant all over the pitch and can fill in wherever you needed. And so he's fantastic. I was concerned though, second half. I think it was about 70 minutes where he was sort of on his haunches. Again, he looks perma-knackered. But then he does that like sprint in the second half, running down the wing in the 80th minute, and he looks fresh as a daisy. And he seems to get stronger and stronger through games. So there's 1 minute, it's like, oh, don't tell me he's like now he's buggered. I don't know. Someone said he got into a collision, so it was just sort of like maybe a bit winded, a bit of a knock from that, but he got through it. But you just watch him in a game, and especially close up, and he's sort of like breathing heavy from the first minute, and it's like a diesel train. I guess it takes him a long time to get warmed up, and then once he's warmed up, there's no stopping him. But yeah, kudos to Rice. He just fits in, does a job. I think we did miss him maybe when there was that period of instability, that it would have been nice to have him in the middle. And there was one thing I wanted to, and maybe some of our substitutions, I don't know, with the Minter chance to save, I think it was around the 70th minute. I think we needed to make some substitutions earlier, and then we'll talk about the game as a whole next. It was that moment that Trossard just didn't get out to the player quick enough that if it was Nelly there, he would have been on him straight away. And it just that matter of a second that then freed the pass to Minter. Yeah, and I think maybe we could have been a bit better with our substitutions just to sort of nullify that part of the game. But in terms of the game overall, what were your thoughts in terms of how we played the game overall and the result?
Well, considering it could have been a bit of a banana skin, what I like is Brighton have been a bit of a bogey side for us, in times over the last few years. And so to get the win, we are now ahead of what we achieved against them last season, because we drew both games against them. So that's encouraging. And I thought the first half in particular was good intensity. We did create plenty of chances. We restricted them to very, very little. And given the late changes and the defensive shake-up, like you alluded to, I thought we coped quite well, which is why it's so frustrating that there is that period. Now, we know Brighton weren't going to come out in the second half and be as bad. They made a couple of changes themselves. Minter had an impact on the game, like you said. But we really did relinquish control. It was like there was a good 5-10 minute spell where any pass that we were making out wasn't finding its man. So therefore, Brighton were able to reset and come at us. So we had to drop a little bit deeper, and that just perpetuated deeper and deeper. And the shades of the Wolves game and the Sunderland game was just kind of like, why are we doing this so regularly? What's going on? And I think that plays into what you said about the substitutions. Because in my head, I'm thinking, well, me and Holly on after the Wolves game were talking about, was it a conscious decision from the bench? We felt we interpreted some of the signals from the bench being that it was almost encouraged. And actually it wasn't, because Arteta was very definite. He came out and said, no, that was not what we were supposed to be doing. So then you're thinking, right, is it a player mindset thing where they're a bit nervous, they're a bit panicky? Well, these players shouldn't really be like that. So our conclusion, or my conclusion certainly, is that it's just fatigue. That after an hour, 60, 65 minutes, the players hit something of a wall. And like you say, Trossard isn't closing the man down to who's going to put in a cross or find that pass as quickly. So they feel they've got more time and they're able to make their passing more accurate. So could we make some substitutions a little bit earlier? Because when Martinelli came on and when Jesus came on, like you said, it was really encouraging because we were able to wrestle back a bit of control and restricted Brighton to maybe like one more chance, I think you said. So, yeah, could we be a bit more proactive in that sense in order to make sure that period doesn't happen? Because at the moment, it could be really costly. We're lucky in the sense that we've won, 3 or 4 games now, but the mixture of own goals and conceding pretty much a goal a game in that period is a bit of a concern, because we've got Villa next, who are the form team in the Premier League. It goes without saying. Bournemouth after that, who are kind of the opposite. They're going, apart from Wolves, actually they're on quite a losing streak, or they haven't won a game in a long time. A few draws in there perhaps, but ultimately are still a very good side, and with a player like Semenyo in there, they can really hurt you. So we need to make sure that it doesn't come back to bite us, and we need that switch to happen where the chances are converted so that we're in a better position to see out the games. Yeah.
I mean, there's a narrative going around, and I don't quite understand it, that we're riding our luck and that we got away with it, and that's nuts. Look, you're not getting away with it when you've got 3.0 XG to 0.85, 24 shots to 8, 6 on target to 3, 4 big chances to 1, 4 big chances missed to 0. That's not getting away with it. And I've got the stats from City versus Forest, Man United versus Newcastle. Now that's a team getting away with it, and Villa versus Chelsea. That's a team getting away with it. A team that has 24 shots and 3.8 XG. That's not getting away with it. Just not taking your chances.
Yeah, the look is the other team not getting battered.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. Are we riding our luck or are they riding their luck? And look, it was a completely dominant performance. Now, you can't. It's very rare that you dominate the full 90. There will be periods, ebbs and flows. We had that period, and it's just the angst in the crowd. As I said, I think the point you made earlier. How did the players feel versus the fans? The angst in the crowd, the game state, being burnt before, just makes everything all nervy. But on the reality, as I said, after the Minter chance, they had nothing. We got back control. It's just we want this so badly that if unless we're 5-0 up and just camped in the opposition's half, we're all going to be anxious. And I'm wondering how if that feeds into the players or they are immune to it. I think that's part of their skill, not only the skill with the feet, is their mental capacity to try and drown out the crowd and just carry on executing our job, keep doing our job. And I'm sure it feeds into it a little bit. You can sort of see at the end, just boot it. And when Reyes saves it or Zubimendi clears it, so I think they can feel that a bit. But this was a very dominant performance. It was a performance. I think it was a well-deserved win. Had we taken our chances, it would have been a different story. And I said, given the defensive shifting we had to make, given everything behind it, given the games we've had to play, cold light of day, Wolves, Everton, Palace, we were by far the better team. Just game state and nerves and not finishing our chances makes it worse. I mean, I can't imagine you think we're getting away with it or riding our luck. Or are we? I don't know. What do you think?
Not getting away with it. I wouldn't sort of term it like that because there is a slight sort of crack in that, in the sense that were the opposition at a different standard, and we'll certainly find that out on Tuesday against Villa. That complacency can't be there, and I do wonder if there's an element of we're able to manage the games with only a goal difference slightly better because it is Wolves, it is Everton, and I don't mean to denigrate them too much, but it was Everton without 3 or 4 really key players. It's Wolves who were just bereft of any kind of confidence as well. So I'm just hoping that the levels do lift ever so slightly against Villa. But like you say, I mean, the point about this, I mean, it took me a while to sort of cotton on to XG and what that kind of tells you. And it is more about, it's a bit like global warming and climate change. It doesn't tell you what the weather is on the day. What it tells you is the pattern of weather over a long period of time. Well, we are creating those chances, and eventually these things sort of, do balance out. So, there's got to be a time when these players have just got to be ruthless, put your foot through it, and just get the ball in the back of the net, because it's so frustrating when they don't.
But it's this very Arsenal thing that I think we get judged to a very different standard. Like, City yesterday, they had worse stats than us. Now, still dominating a team like Forest. They had like 1.45 XG to Forest's 0.55. They had 16 shots to the 7, 5 shots on target to 2. Blah blah blah. No one's saying City got away with it. They're saying, oh well, it went 1-0 up. Forest at home got an equaliser, but hey, 10 minutes to go, they scored the winner. Could have easily been VAR'd, but they're not. No one's saying they got away with it. And look, Liverpool at home, 1.54 XG to 1.07, 14 shots to 9, 4 shots on target to 4, 67% possession to 33. They win at home 2-1, and are they getting away with it? So I think it's Arsenal fans, maybe it's just a narrative, everyone putting us down sort of thing, and then like you say, Villa, 37% possession to 63, 1.19 XG to 2.14, 11 shots to 14. They are the ultimate, getting away with it team. But you don't see that, in the narrative. So maybe we're being a bit spiky. Maybe it's just the usual stuff around Arsenal fans. How we sort of not particularly, And we don't take criticism well, or we don't take unfair criticism well, shall we say?
And ultimately, we're top. We're the ones with the target on our back. We're the ones everyone is aiming for. And it's interesting, where the next game will be the halfway point of the season, and we're in the position everyone has been trying to be, which is top of the league. So I sort of get that in a way, and it's probably just frustration from opposition fans that these narrow wins are the frustrating ones, because last season there's no way. You look at who were the wins against? So Wolves, Everton, Palace, and then Brighton yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, we would have drawn,
Yeah.
2, if not maybe 3 of those games easily, because of just something in the mentality and something in the way the injuries caught up with us last season, because we didn't have the depth to rotate. Yeah, we would have easily dropped points in more of those games. We haven't done, and that's other people are probably thinking, well, last year you did, so why aren't you doing that? Oh, it must be, there must be some kind of luck involved or whatever, because I can't explain it. Because ultimately, I'm a bit like me. I'm not watching every minute of every other game to know exactly what's going on with the opposition. I did watch Man City yesterday, and I must admit, as much as I did expect them to maybe have a chance and get that win, I wasn't overly bowled over with the way that they played. I thought, Forest gave them enough respect, because Erling Haaland can hurt you, definitely. Cherky looks like a tricky player, but ultimately they were still giving up chances, and Forest were certainly good for the draw. And yeah, it's then frustrating when they don't drop points, because that's what they do. So I shouldn't be beating up Arsenal for the fact that we've kept on winning.
Yeah, well, look, we're 10 points better off than last season. And again, we're sort of gaining points. Like I said, like Brighton, we're +2, Everton away, we're +2. So we are winning games that we would have drawn last year. So I think there's improvement there. I mean, in terms of the game, we talked about Odegaard's goal, and then you would have been in perfect position for was it set piece, own goal again, ole ole. So
goal again, ole ole. We're at a point now where we've almost scored more own goals in December than any other kind of goal. So
4.
Great. But at the same time, the thing about own goals is, in order for an own goal to happen, there's got to be some kind of build-up play and pressure put on the defence. That ball from Rice is brilliant, and the defender feels like he has to deal with it, and he's just timed it wrong or whatever, and it's gone in. So it's an absolutely brilliant delivery. Gyökeres was very much doing this, saying he hadn't scored it because I think Rice seemed to feel like he'd maybe got a touch. So, and then they celebrated.
We are going to score direct from a corner very soon. Either Saka or Rice. It's going to happen, I think, sometime soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And again, it's that quality of delivery that he just manages to do. I was a bit worried because he was coming over to take corners right in front of us where we sit in the North Bank, and there were a few wincing at his knees kind of moments. But I feel like that's just his histrionics. That's just the kind of way he plays a game. It's all puffing out his cheeks and
looking perma-knackered.
Yeah, exactly. And like with the 2 own goals against Wolves, they're from brilliant crosses from Saka that the defenders feel they have to deal with, and it's just gone our way in that moment. So it still comes from quality play, even if an Arsenal player hasn't got the end of it.
Yeah, exactly. No, they're not turning around and booting into their own net, are they? So it's like, we're there. And then look, had Rutter not gone there, Gyökeres was making the run across the near post, so he could have got the flick on the set. So we're forcing these. It's just a coincidence that we get a few in a row. And yeah, but look, I'll take a goal. I don't care how they come. We take the goals as is. But what you forget is also. And it's also when we get these set piece goals, etc., etc. What people forget is actually the reason we're getting the set pieces because of all the play that we do beforehand, all the pressure that we put on beforehand. And actually, this corner stemmed from an amazing move which started in our own half with Trossard on the right hand side, plays all the way across the area to the our left to the right, and there were some nervy moments in that. It was like one of those, like, he just, and it goes down the right flank, and then across the left, and then it ends up with an Odegaard shot, which I think was going in, and the defender makes a save, and that was a brilliant move. I don't know, 20 odd passes, if not more. Brilliant play. Now, had that goal gone in, that's goal of the season. But we forced the corner, and we force a goal. So that and we've had a few moments like that this in the last few games. We've had some actually really, really typical Arsenal play that we've managed to. We just hasn't come to anything at that moment, but it has led to subsequent goals. So I think we're thinking 2-0, not quite game over, but that should be that. Gyökeres then has that shot from the tight angle, hits it this time, saved, and then they get their goal, Gomez, and it's like out of nothing, and this is where you can get footballed. This is variance. It's really out of nothing. A shot goes through a sea of legs off the post that could bounce back to Rare, that could bounce out for a goal kick. Instead, it just bounces to the only unmarked Brighton player, slams it into an empty net, and it's 2-1, and we're all thinking, here we go, here we go again.
It was, and like you say, I think that's a good phrase, that football variance and getting footballed, because I just want a run of games where we take that out of the equation, because I've said on our podcast many a times that, the comfortable win, it's not just about the scoreline and making me feel better and lowering my blood pressure. What it is, it's the knock-on effect that you're able to take players off, you're able to rest them, and everyone's able to play with a little bit more ease, because we're feeling the effects of these games being so intense for so long, because players are playing the full 90, fully concentrated, fully physical, full physical output, and it's causing a few players to break down when they might not do. Were we able to be more comfortable 2-3-0 up, and put those games to bed? But
you could imagine Waneri would have had more minutes out there. The likes of Rice, the likes of Timber, Saka would have had more rest. What does it say about your bench if you can't trust them when you're winning 2-0, even 2-1? But that's a discussion for another day. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, I think the amount of times that we're expecting win the game by 60, 70 minutes, rotate the players, get them off, but we've just not had that game state over December to allow that to happen, which again has that knock-on effect. And the reason Rice is playing right back is because Mosquera is injured, is because Ben White is injured, and because Timber's injured, and that's a consequence of just the games we've had to play. Some of it is the decisions Arteta's makes, some of it's just the way football goes, and we do seem to get those clutch injuries. Again, we talked about the rare save, and the one big moment, and we did make some good substitutions. As I said, I think we should have brought Martinelli and Jesus on at the same time, partly because those two seem to work well together as a team. I think Martinelli improved. It seems to be a better player with Jesus in the team. I think fresher legs, what he can do defensively. They would have been pushing for an equaliser. But anyway, we got them on. We were riding it out. The one big thing that I thought, should we have got a penalty? The shove on Jesus at the far post by, was it Kadioglu? From where I was, and from the angles I've seen from fans, that to me was, he was just about to head it in and he gets a push. On TV, it doesn't look as clear as that from the angles that they showed. I don't know from what you were, maybe you would have had the goal in the way. Did you think that was a penalty?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I only thought it was a penalty in the sense that an Arsenal player has gone down and wanted a penalty. I couldn't honestly tell you whether or not it was definitively from my view. Like you say, the goal's in the way and it's all a bit of a blur. Yeah, seeing it again though, I'm not sure. It's one of those.
See, that's why. So, and that's the bit that annoys me the most, because the TV angles are not the right one. But from where I was, he was literally just, you can see him drawing back his head and gets a shove. And if he doesn't get the shove, he's heading that ball. And Marino, 2 minutes later, on our left-hand touchline, does exactly the same thing. Of course, it's a free kick.
That's it.
And that, well, I don't know. I thought that was as clear.
You'll
clear
have Howard
penalty.
Webb on Ref Watch talking about higher threshold in the penalty and area and all these sorts of things.
It's a foul, but I can see now why it wasn't given and why VAR would not give it, just because it looks less impactful than actually what I saw. But luckily it didn't mean anything. It would have made the last 3-4 minutes a bit more comfortable. We also had Saka breaking through, and Dunk did really well to get back there. Again, maybe expected Saka to do a little bit better. Maybe he chops back onto his right foot. Don't know. It's 94th minute. He's run all day. Yeah, didn't happen. But anyway, ultimately we get the win and huge relief and cue celebrations. And anyone else that, before we look at the Villa game, anyone else that stood out for you in terms of performance? I think we touched on Odegaard at the beginning. We talked about Gyökeres. Anyone else that stood out for you yesterday?
I mean, Marino played a tidy game, quite combative in midfield, and just played like he's got all the time in the world on the ball, which is obviously the Spanish way. I thought he was very good. I think more of the story, and it links to the Saka chance that he had one-on-one that Dunk blocked. A lot of the narrative and the story will be about the players that maybe aren't being used, because, you know, were Madueke able to come on and relieve Saka? Would he have had the bit more energy in order to finish off that chance? Although it is the classic thing, and I do get annoyed with it, that sometimes amongst the Arsenal fan base, the best players are always the ones not on the pitch in their minds. So there is that. However, I would say when you look at the fact that, you know, there's over 100 million pounds worth of talent there in Madueke and Eze, let alone Waneri, who's great as well, and they're not getting on the pitch against Brighton at home, and it's unlikely that they're going to start against Villa. You know, how are we using the squad there? Because we're putting a lot of pressure on the defence at the moment. You know, White and Timber's injuries can certainly maybe look to that. What is the impact going to be on the front line when these games are coming every sort of 3 or 4 days, and we're not leaning into the defence, into the attack on the bench in that way? Martinelli and Jesus, absolutely brilliant, came on, did really well, but you know, would there be room for more changes in the attacking line that could make a difference as well?
I think it's a trust thing, and I think it's who he trusts defensively in those moments.
Yes.
So not what he gets out of them going forward, is what he gets out of them going in the other direction. And he knows what Martinelli will do. He knows what Jesus will do. I don't think Madueke and Eze have earned Arteta's trust yet to hold out a game with 10 minutes to go. If it's 1-1 and we need a win and need a goal, then fine, chuck them on. But if we're defending a 2-1 lead, yeah, I'm going to go with the guys that I know and trust and have been there, done that, and know what I want, sort of thing, irrespective of being tired. So I think that's where we are in that. Anyway, as you said, I mean, for me, the one standout player, and I had a really good view of it, was Saliba. Again, I think he's really stepped up in Big G's absence. I think last year it would be the opposite, that when Gabriel wasn't there, he would shrink and he wouldn't rise up to it. This year, with Big Gabriel, he's really stepped up, and it was so smooth. He's leading the progression of the ball out of the fence, you know, being that, you know, the one who starts our attacks. And I thought he was so smooth, so under control, and he's looked, you know, $1 million, you know, Rolls Royce, as they say, with him in the last few games. I really thought his performance and the way he stepped up, and it's great now that Gabriel is back. That the two of them now can, you know, reconvene. Yeah, service can resume as normal.
At the back four. Big Gabby in the opposition penalty box as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, there we go. We did win after all. Even again, it's another Arsenal win that feels like a non-Arsenal win. You know, we lost against Wolves. we drew against Everton, and you know, just it's funny how the emotion can really influence how we feel about the game, and when we were dominant and we're top of the league. But there we go. Okay, so on to the 3 reviews of that game. Arsenal 2, Brighton 1. Thank you to everyone who posted on Blue Sky, X, Threads, TikTok, plus the Grove WhatsApp group. Yeah, so thank you for those, and apologies as always in advance if I mangle your names or your handles, and apologies if I've missed any. So here we go. On TikTok, we have from the boy Gianluca, very on trend. It was indeed. On X, we had Ask Cannon Picks, Ian from the Grove podcast. Same game again. Yeah, it was just like Gianluca said, very on trend. It seems to be a very similar story at the moment. Unlucky Neil calls it as it is, top of the league, which we are indeed. On to those on Threads. So. Gunnar, the January man. Oh, my Arsenal. Yep, I know the feeling. Julian Sheldon, 3 points. Done. Correct. Jeed Dubaya, 67. Few. Yeah, I think there was a lot of people very relieved come the final whistle, as was Astrid Felicialim, my poor heart. Yeah, I think we all felt that. Paul Latham, Dignity 18. Gonna shit on, one word, Seagulls. We just about did. Danny Mars comes back with bloody hard work. It did feel like that at a time. And Groovy Cathers too, world-class Raya. Yeah, he is the one that made a big difference at the end. T-Cat 3 Deuce almost doesn't count. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. And Central ITC, just a chubby. Yeah, I'm not too sure what that means, but yeah, I guess if that's what you think, that's what you think. Okay, and then on to Blue Sky, Jack Land Snide or Jack Land Snide, Gabby. Yeah, it's good to see him back, but also I think Jesus and Martinelli also made a big difference. Mr. C, the Gooner, convincing then unconvincing. Yeah, I guess there was a period of unconvincing, but overall we dominated, so we were convincing. Sid Silk, B Sky Social, it's a win. It was 3 points, top of the league, and TDB 1726 riding our luck. I think as we just discussed before, I think the opposition are riding their luck more than we're riding ours. But yeah, that's fine. So, and then on to the Grove WhatsApp chat. We have Alistair, what a save indeed. Moz, 12 pins again. No, sorry, I wasn't able to make the pub afterwards. Sasha, cardiac arrest incoming. Yeah, Arsenal tend to be doing that to us at the moment. Normie, Christmas is over. Yeah, unfortunately, Christmas is over and we're moving on to the new year. Matt Stacey, best number one. Yeah, we are. Kasiva is tired of conceding. I know the feeling. And Chi, always so nervy. Yep, I hear you. And finishing off, Alex Monroe can't handle it. Yeah, at times, I think we want it so much. It would be nice if we were just well clear and winning easy. Unfortunately, football is not like that, and it doesn't always happen that way. So thank you for sending those through. And yeah, if you want to leave your reviews, leave your 3-word reviews, then comment on the YouTube or comment on the apps, or just send a comment on the socials, and we appreciate it. So thank you very much for everyone for those. And on to the Villa preview. Onto Villa. Wow. Okay, we play them 8:15. Now, everyone, this is a public services announcement. This is 8:15 on the 30th of December. I don't know what day that is, but it's 8:15 on Tuesday. There we go. Aston Villa. Right, we've got 10 minutes. What are you looking forward to? Not looking forward to, as far as this game's concerned.
I'm looking forward to the game being over, and I'm not looking forward to the game. Does that help?
Yeah. I know how you feel.
I'm Mr. Pessimistic. I'm nicknamed Eeyore on our podcast, and I can't help but feel utter turmoil and despair at this. You know, they're the form team, let alone all the narrative. And I want to address the lazy narrative that comes out about how Arsenal fans just didn't understand and didn't give Emery a chance. No. We did. And for a time, we thought there were some good things that he was doing. Absolutely right. And he had really the impossible task. He had to replace the absolute legend that is Arsene Wenger, despite, what happened towards the end of his tenure. And Emery comes in, and he did okay, but some of the signings were a bit, and the way he handled some of the big personalities left a lot to be desired. But he certainly did have a bit of a fair crack. He missed out on Champions League in games where, he would maybe be a bit too defensive, or he would rely on players that clearly were just not up to it. Not always his fault in terms of getting them in. And then goes and loses a Europa League final against a team that have already qualified for the Champions League. So really we should be much more motivated, and we get absolutely spannered by them. So I'm not having that we didn't give him a fair crack. And that's not to say, that's not me, and this is the same for lots of Arsenal fans as well. We're not saying he's a bad coach. No one's saying he's a bad coach. He's a great coach, okay? But he wasn't the right coach for Arsenal at that time. That's what we're saying. But for some, for clicks or whatever, this is spun into this thing of like Arsenal fans just don't like him. Blah, blah. It's not true. I do have a theory that he is one of these managers that's a really good underdog manager. And, Villa, something of a sleeping giant, big fan base, obviously European Cup in the 80s and all those sorts of things. But they feel like underdogs. They've, people writing them off. They love that. They like the idea of that.
They're not traditional big six, that type stuff. They're sort of just hovering around that.
And when he's been a good manager at the likes of Seville and
Yeah.
at Villarreal, that's been true as well. Because when he had his spell at PSG, well, it was a similar narrative to what it was at Arsenal. That maybe some of the big personalities, the superstar players, wouldn't necessarily buy into what was going on. He could be a little bit more negative rather than have that kind of mindset of a top manager that's really going to take the game. And other managers are coming a cropper with that. So Thomas Frank, I hear Tottenham fans saying similar about them, although that belies the fact that they're probably not as big as they think they are. But similar things being said about Alonso at Real Madrid at the moment, for example. So some managers just operate at different clubs in a certain way. And yeah, I just hate the fact that they're coming into this. It's now 11 games in a row in all competitions. They're winning from behind. They're scoring bangers and overperforming their XG. And I've pointed out, I think before, which game would it have been? Before the Villa game at their place at the start of the month, that when we've faced a team in the top 4 at time of playing them, that's when we've dropped points this season. So I'm terrified. But I'm looking forward. It's going to be a big game. I think the atmosphere is going to be electric because people are going to be up for it, knowing that it's so important. Because
massively
bear the idea of contemplating a loss, but here we go.
I really like that point about Emery being an underdog coach. I think that suits his style, because we've been done with his negative tactics, which you'd expect maybe from a lesser team, in inverted commas, from a smaller team, not from the bigger teams, and that sort of suits it. And I think we fell foul to that. Yeah, as you said, following in Arsene Wenger's footsteps. I think also the board didn't help him out sometimes. So yeah, just I don't know if it was right man, wrong time sort of thing. I don't think it was ever going to fit us. He was that sort of stopgap, and he would have had to sort of pull up some trees to make that success. I just don't think he was set up for success in terms of who he was and who we were at that time. So, what he did at Liverpool this year, that always gives me the idea of, okay, he's a good coach, but he has limitations. The only coach to go to Liverpool and decide to not go over the top, not turn around their defence, not play like everyone else who was beating them at the time. That always gives me pause for thought. Okay, you're good, but come on. And that frustrates the hell out of us. And also Arsenal fans are tainted by the fact that he turns up at City in the season that we need them to do a job with his reserves because he's too afraid of them and things like that. Whereas he does the opposite against us.
And saving those players for us, because there's more sort of necessarily riding on it, which is why I'd almost, just as an experiment, I'm not sure this will happen, and I definitely don't know if I'd really want it to happen, but it'd be interesting if we went into the game with a mindset of go, right, here you go, have the ball, you do it. And just kind of like,
but it's not going to happen.
No, I know.
I'd say
you're the overdogs in this one.
Yeah,
do what you can.
It's an odd one. I'm looking forward to regression to the norm. So we not only do we take revenge for their last second winner a few weeks back, but the dam will break. All those goals that we've been saving up. I'm hoping for a City performance 5-1. Like we did last season, where we smash them 5-1, and then just the dam breaks. The atmosphere, everything goes, and they just cannot get out of that. They regress to their norm. They don't get these lucky goals. They don't score from outside the box. That's what I'm looking forward to. What I'm not looking forward to is that not happening. Emery being Emery at Arsenal, he's got that bee in his bonnet, and he comes up and turns us over. But like last year, 2-0 up and we draw 2-2. We have I think the last 5 games at the Emirates, it's been, we've won 2, they've won 2, and we've drawn.
Oh, it's tragic.
We've not had a good record with them home and away. So it's a very even record home and away. And on that XG thing, just to call out some numbers on this, they are. And I was looking at the league table, so they're +9 on their goals for. They're performing about 3 better on the goals against, so they're +6 in terms of goal difference, and that translates to X amount of points. And this was the main stat that I saw, is that Aston Villa are on 4.59 expected points ahead of Wolves. They're in third, Wolves are bottom, and they're only expected 5 points differential between them and Wolves. So if they achieved their expected points, they'd be nowhere near where they are now. So they're just on a rich vein of form. everything seems to be going their way. But we've been there before as Arsenal fans, and I think we at the time were thinking, "Yeah, this is great. Yeah, but we can really see the underlying patterns here and a bit." So I'm just hoping. You know, I mean, how much stock do you put into that? Do you think there's something in there? There's a bit between, okay, the data's one thing, but they're winning, but is this sustainable for them?
Had Leicester's title win not happened, I might have agreed with you, but you just don't know. And those, the statistics, yes, over a long period of time, absolutely, it reverts to that. But there's those unquantifiable factors in football, momentum, confidence, those sorts of things, that winning is a habit and that determination, that fight. And Villa just seem to be full of it at the moment. And that's why it's the real concern. I mean, I'd love that statistical, evening out to sort of occur on Tuesday. Will it? Not sure. And like you say, I feel like of all the ghosts we've got to lay to rest, such as winning away at City, beating Liverpool, but they are what they are, to be honest. We've been competitive in games against them, and they are the best teams over the last few years. So that you can sort of accept. Whereas Villa as a bogey side is so annoying because it's not just been, one season where they've tripped it up. So it's been the last, 5, maybe even 6 games where they've really made a difference in our title tilts because they've played us and taken points off us at really important times. And it's so frustrating.
Well,
and even the manner that they beat us last time, where we played okay at a ground, their home record is
phenomenal,
pretty much the best in the league at the moment. And so to beat us in the last minute of injury time with the last kick felt so much worse. Again, when you step back, if it had been a draw, you'd go, fine, brilliant, yeah, we'll take that. But it was just an absolute sucker punch and really set them off. So I just, more than anything, I just want to beat them just to lay that ghost to rest would be nice.
It would be. So look, quickly, before you go, what do you think the lineup will be and what's your prediction?
Right, so we talked about this, or we're prepping to talk about this on our pod, and obviously injuries are a major factor. So I'm actually going to start front to back, if that's okay, because I think it's important.
Yeah.
Raya will be in goal. That's fine.
Cool.
Front line,
I thought Declan Rice might go in goal, but there we go.
I think the front line, actually, I think he'll stay the same. I think it'll be Saka,
Really?
Gyökeres, Trossard. Again, it's like
not Jesus.
I think it's trust. I think it's trust that he's going with now. I think he wants Gyökeres to occupy the centre backs. And because we're at home, we'll be afforded to do that. I don't know. And ultimately, look, we've been saying Jesus and Martinelli impact off the bench. Well, let's have some more impact off the bench, please. Maybe a little bit earlier. So we'll see. Midfield and defence all depends on injuries. If Timber's available, that means Rice can then go back into midfield. So you'd have Timber at the back with Saliba. Is Gabriel ready to start? I hope so.
He's starting.
Because then Nkapie can go left back. Because like you, he's 18. His performances are going to fluctuate, but MLS was a bit jittery to begin the game with. He grew into the game, did get better, but was a bit jittery. When sometimes he sort of dwells on the ball, takes too many touches, a bit hesitant about where to pass. And that header that went out for a corner where it was like the start of the game, and it was like, wasn't really sure what to do there. So I'm a bit worried about that. Midfield 3 then, obviously if Timber's not fit, Rice goes there, and I think it's pretty much as you were, Odegaard, Zubimendi, Merino. But I actually, if Timber's not available, I'd prefer a different solution because I just want Rice in midfield. I really want Rice in midfield.
Yeah, I don't know what the solution is.
Salmon. Marley Salmon. Do you know what I mean? That would be mad to play that against Villa.
I think he trusts Merino enough to fill in the Rice position, and we just go again. We've played it before. At least we've had at least some experience in doing it, and
So Timber, Gabriel back in, and then Rice, Zubimendi, Odegaard.
Yeah, I had Rice, Timber, Saliba, Big G, Nkapie, Odegaard, Zubimendi, Rice, Saka. I think Jesus, Trossard. Actually, no, I think it's either Jesus and Martinelli or Trossard and Gyökeres. Because I think the partnership thing is important, so that's what I'm going for. Who knows? But and Kai's back on the bench, hopefully, and we'll see. And Prediction. Oh, I know two things. Also, a couple of things good for us was yesterday. Kamara and Cash picked up yellow cards. So they're out.
Yeah.
Pau Torres and Tyrone Mings are out. So they're going to be missing two key players for them. I think I can guess what you predict versus what you want.
Oh, what I want is a absolute hammering 5-0, like you said, where we score whatever our XG predicts and they score whatever their XG predicts. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
5
But what's your prediction?
2-2.
Oh, okay. I was doing 1-1 on the thing. 2-2.
1-1, but I think we've conceded 1 a game, so it was always going to be 1. I think Villa are probably better than 1. Good for that because Rodgers will score from the 150th yard or something like that he gets, and so I've gone 2-2, and I'm only basing that on we lost 1-0 to Liverpool in a game where 9 times out of 10 it would have been an absolute draw. I can't believe I said absolute draw, but there we go. That's a phrase I just said. And then we had 1-1 Man City, 1-1 Chelsea, and we had 2-2 Sunderland. These are all teams that were in the top 4 of playing them. So to even it up, I'm going 2-2 Villa.
Okay, I'm going 4-1 Arsenal. It's happening. It's happening. This is the one. It's all leading up to this.
I really, really hope so. And I will put you to death if that happens as well.
I'll come
running up to your seat when the 4th one goes in.
4-1. We're winning the lot, as I say. There we go. Well, look, on that positive note,
brilliant.
Thank you, Steff, for joining me this morning. Hopefully I haven't kept you for too long. I know you've got a busy day ahead, but I do appreciate it. Unfortunately, my lot have all got Christmas things to do, so thank you very much and for getting me up at this hour in the morning, but it was a pleasure. So
farmer's life.
Farmer's life. And go and remind everyone where they can find you after they found us.
So Northbank Pod, at Northbank Pod on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, but mainly on YouTube. That's where we post the pods. You can get them wherever you listen to your pods as well, but we do record the video and they're up on YouTube at Northbank Pod.
Cool. Thank you for that. Yeah, do go and have a listen to Steff, Chris and Holly. It's a good listen to. So yeah, go do that. And likewise, you can follow us at The Grove AFC on Threads, Blue Sky, TikTok, Instagram, blah blah blah, YouTube, all that jazz. We will have a show on New Year's Eve post our 4-1 victory against Villa. Pre-Liverpool next. Actually, it's Liverpool up on the 8th afterwards. So bloody hell, it doesn't rain, but
Bournemouth before that.
Isn't it? No. Well, I thought it was Liverpool.
No, Bournemouth.
What date's Bournemouth? Bournemouth, what date
Saturday,
is that?
5:30.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay, Bournemouth. I missed that one. Okay. Well, that gives us a bit of a break. Well, hopefully it's a bit. Anyway, enough of that. Sorry. Anyway, we're going to have a pod on New Year's Eve, hopefully. Celebratory pod. Yeah. That's all that leaves me to say is, well, I hope you've had a good Christmas. I hope you're outperforming your XT. And thank you for listening. And until the next time, come on, you Gunners.